readers, welcome to Novels with Nat. I just finished Holly Jackson's newest book, Not Quite Dead Yet, and it was a really anticipated book for me that was coming out this year, and so I want to do a little book review. So I have read now all of Holly Jackson's releases. She's had the 3 Good Girl Guide to Murder books, as well as the novella. She's had 5 Survive, Reappearance of Rachel Price, and now Not Quite Dead Yet. And I've enjoyed all of them. This one was actually her first adult book. So all the others have been young adult, and I don't typically read young adult books, but Holly Jackson is my one exception. I'll pick up any book that she releases. I just love her writing style. Her books are just really intricate and well plotted, and I really enjoy that. So as I usually do with these reviews, I'll talk a little bit about what the premise of the book was, then I'll go through what I liked, what I didn't like, and then my final rating. So I did read this book from the library. I kind of tandem read and went back and forth between the book and the audiobook. But there was a long wait list at my library to get this book, and so as soon as I was done with it, I just returned it because I'm sure the next person in line will be eagerly awaiting their turn. So I don't have it with me right now, but I'll just put a picture. So the premise of this one was really interesting, and I was initially really intrigued when I heard the synopsis however many months ago when I saw the book. So the basic idea of this book is we're following a woman named Jet. She is 27 years old, and one night she is attacked. Somebody attempts to unalive her, and she ends up with a very traumatic head injury. And they basically tell her at the hospital that your brain has an aneurysm that will essentially kill you in approximately a week's time. So it's fatal. There's nothing that they can do, and within a week she will probably die as a result of this. And so she takes it upon herself with her last 7 days alive to try to solve her own murder. So I thought the premise of this one was super interesting. I also really liked the cover art. It kind of looks like a brain, like an MRI scan type of thing. I thought that was really cool. So let's first talk about the things that I liked about the book. The number one thing being the premise. I've definitely never read any book like this before, and I'm more and more looking for books, thrillers specifically, that have a new premise or a new idea. I'm just kind of over it with the standard like missing person or like murder mystery or like, Agatha Christie and then there were none type locked room thing. I've just read so many of those and I'm kind of burnt out on them. So anything that's a little bit new or a little bit of a different angle to a thriller, I'm definitely interested in. The next thing that I really liked was this book definitely had Holly Jackson's typical writing style, which I love. I really enjoy. She really knows how to build suspense. She's also really descriptive and she writes really good characters. I also really enjoy how well plotted and thought out her books are. You can tell that before she even starts writing, she has every single plot point and every single clue mapped out in her mind, and everything connects and comes back together in the end. And I really appreciate that. There's nothing worse than reading a thriller and then getting to the end and being like, okay, there's all these loose threads that weren't tied together. There's plot holes here, and it's just the worst. So Holly Jackson's books are never like that, and I really love that about her books. The third thing that I really enjoyed was the ending. I'm not going to talk too much about this because I think it's best to go into it completely blind, but I do like the way that the book wrapped up in general. The last 20% really tied everything together nicely. So this book wasn't my favorite Holly Jackson. There's definitely a few things that weren't my favorite. The first would be that I definitely found this one lagged in the middle. The beginning was very interesting and intriguing. You start off with a bang right away with the attack and finding out what's wrong medically, but then the middle just really slows down and not a lot was happening. But then we get into the last 20 to 25%, and then it really picks up again and starts to really wrap together the mystery and start to get some resolution. And so I just found myself in that middle 50% a little bit bored. While I was reading it, I was fine, but every time I put it down, I just didn't really have the urge to pick it back up. I wasn't really thinking about it. I'll also say that the book I found was a little bit convoluted, the mystery in itself of trying to piece together who's responsible for what and what's happening and who did this and that, and I just felt like it was a little bit much. However, I will say that this book definitely had one of those last chapters where it kind of feels like the author is sitting down and just like explaining the entire thing to you, just to make sure you've got it straight and you understood what happened. And I'm not a huge fan of that. I feel like it should start wrapping up more organically. Um, so that final chapter, while it did definitely clarify everything, I wasn't confused after that final chapter. I just felt like it was a bit too much like, okay, now let me tell you what happened. And I just wish she kind of showed us what happened throughout instead of it just kind of being over explained. Which I'm glad the chapter was there because it wrapped things up and I wasn't confused. But at the same time, I wish that that information was given in a more engaging way as opposed to just kind of like a speech of like, this is what had happened. I'll also say that with this one, there were definitely not as many characters as there were in some of her other books, especially like the Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy. Um, and that can be both a good and a bad thing. I enjoy less characters in the sense that it's easier to follow. There's less like confusion and just like overcomplication. But at the same time, when there's less characters, it also makes it easier to guess who's responsible for what. And I felt like this one, I did see it coming about 50% through. Um, so I'm not sure if that was a result of not a lot of characters to choose from. Maybe I just got lucky or what the case was, but that's just something I noticed. I'll also say this is not like a critique or something that I disliked. It's just something I noticed as well that this book was supposed to be an adult book. Our main character is supposed to be 27, but I will say that this read identically to all of her other books, which were young adult. The main character and her friend who is helping her solve this mystery in this book, both of them read like teenagers to me. They just did not seem like in their late 20s. I've also heard some other people mention that as well, that they found the book really did read like a young adult novel, which is not negative per se, but I think it's also like if you're marketing your book as an adult novel, I think try to make the characters seem a little bit more mature. But it's fine. It didn't bother me, just something I noticed. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it for my thoughts on the book. I don't want to give too much away. I want to keep it as spoiler free as possible. This is like a new book. I'm sure a lot of people want to get around to it at some point if they haven't yet already. So that's all I'm going to talk about for the book. We can now get into my rating for this one. As I was reading it, I was feeling like this was going to be a 3.5 star. I enjoyed it. It was a fine time, but I just wasn't super drawn into it. But that last 20% really did redeem it for me, and I really enjoyed it a lot more after we started to get things to wrap up and we started to get the reveals. So I ended up landing on 4 stars for this one, which is a good rating. Like, it was a good book. It was a good time. I think if you enjoy Holly Jackson's writing, you should definitely check this one out. I would recommend it. I'll just say that it didn't have that fast paced energy that The Good Girl's Guide to Murder had, and also that the reappearance of Rachel Price, which is another one of my favorites by her. I definitely preferred that one. But overall, 4 stars. It was a great book. So now that I've officially finished Holly Jackson's entire backlist, keep an eye out in the next few weeks for a video. I'm planning on doing an author spotlight video where I talk about all of their books and then I do a ranking at the end from my least favorite to my favorite. I was waiting for this newest book to release so that I can be all up to date and then do a ranking video. So I'm excited for that. I love doing author ranking videos. I can also link down below the playlist for some of the other ones that I've done so far. I think I've done Alex Michaelides and Riley Sager so far, so this will be my third. You can check that playlist out if you like ranking videos. But I think that is it for today. It's just a quick video. Just wanted to chat about this book. Let me know in the comments if you've read this one and what your thoughts were. What was your rating? Or also let me know if it is on your TBR and if you plan to read it. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe, leave a comment, all of that fun stuff. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in another video very soon. Bye.